The man killed over the weekend after a deadly attack on the Appalachian Trail has now been identified.
According to the FBI, Ronald Sanchez Jr. of Oklahoma died after he was stabbed multiple times. And tonight we've learned from court documents that the suspect, James Jordan, as you see here, threatened a group of hikers at their campsite in Wythe County moments before the murder.
10 News reporter Tommy Lucas joins us now. He's been looking into this. And Tommy, I understand that at least one hiker knew of this guy's history and tried to get him off the trail.
Yeah, that man actually bought a bus ticket for the accused attacker, hoping that he would leave and go home. It's after court documents reveal that James Jordan appeared to be, quote, disturbed and unstable on the Friday before the attack. Court documents show hikers say 30-year-old James Jordan was acting erratically at their campsite while playing a guitar and singing Friday night. He was threatening to pour gasoline on their tents and burn them to death. As the hikers were leaving the site, Jordan allegedly appeared with the weapon, described as a machete. Today, investigators named the man he killed as Ronald Sanchez Jr. They say he stabbed him in the upper body repeatedly. Then, according to documents, he chased after a woman, stabbed her multiple times. She played dead, so he would leave. She survived the attack. Matthew O.D. Norman, a man who publishes a hiker yearbook for the Appalachian Trail, says he's talked to other hikers who've met with the woman who survived. He calls her strong.
She was sitting up, she was talking, I saw a picture of her holding a thumbs up.
As we've previously reported, many long-distance hikers had heard about Jordan harassing other hikers. Norman says he had dinner with the now accused murderer, trying to convince him to go home to family members.
He was suffering from delusions, for sure. He thought that the mountain people were in danger of having their insurance stolen from infiltrators and that he had a list of the infiltrators.
He regrets not being able to stop him.
I told the hiking community that they were safe, and he came back and he murdered someone.
Investigators say the woman who survived is from Nova Scotia. In the studio, I'm Tommy Lopez, 10 News, working for you.